Hey everyone, my name is Lily and I'm the book blogger behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I'm going to bring you my July wrap-up. This is going to be on time, unlike my June wrap-up. So let's just get into it because there's a lot to talk about. I read 49 books in July, so less than June, so pat on the back. But still a lot more than I thought. It's because I was finishing up a lot of graphic novel holds. So I calculated it. In total, I read 21 graphic novels in July, so less than June, thankfully. So that's about 43% of my total reading month, essentially. Of the 49 books I read, 16 of these were with BIPOC main characters, and 29 of those were with queer main characters. So I read a ton of queer graphic novels. I want to say almost every graphic novel I read was queer. Like, almost every single one. I'm trying to even think of one that I read that wasn't queer, and I can't think of any. I don't know. It's just I don't know if I was like making up for June or still in that June headspace and going into July, but I think almost every one of them were queer, so that just, skyrocketed that number for me. As far as percentages, that is 33% characters of color and 59% queer characters. So 59% is like way higher than I normally am shooting for. I'm shooting for 50% characters of color and 33% queer characters. So the percentages are a little bit reversed this month, but I'm not mad about it. And I just want to talk now about my favorite books. I had a lot of favorite books and a lot of surprising favorite books. So I'm just gonna quickly talk about sequels first. Sequels so hard to review, like in a mini review style. The first one and the only one I have in person is Wings of Shadow. This is my Owl Crate edition, by the way. So sprayed edges. Wings of Shadow was the finale that I wanted. It was the finale that made me cry because of how good it was. Like, I made a whole TikTok about series that made me cry because they were so good, like series finales. So I'll link my TikTok down below. I'm posting a lot of TikToks now. I don't know if that appeals to anybody, but they're kind of really short ways. Either I can do kind of goofy tags, or I can do quick, like, four BIPOC fantasies that you might be able to guess from the design under the dust jacket. That's one I did already. But then I did another one about series finales that made me cry. Wings of Shadow, one of them. It was just such a fantastic, fulfilling finale that just like hit all the notes I wanted to, with all the characters that have made such a impact in my heart, essentially, like the trilogy. So if you haven't read the trilogy, just please do. The finale is fantastic. And speaking of other finales, the next one I want to talk about, Suns Will Rise. So this is the series finale of the The System Divine, that's the series title for The Sky Without Stars. It is a Les Mis space opera, like a Les Mis set in space. I don't know if you are into those two things and you didn't know about this series. It's also co-authored. I've done an interview with both authors on my blog. I will link that below. But basically, it's just epic. Like, you take one of the most epic, long, celebrated, pieces of literature, with Broadway shows and movies and all of these different things, and then you add a sci-fi, galactic angle to it, and it's just epic meets epic equals double epic. It is just so phenomenal. The world building is fantastic, and also the third one, which obviously isn't this one, the third one also asks interesting questions about cyborgs, which is just like a piece after my own heart. So I don't know, the series finale, Suns Will Rise, just kind of hit everything I wanted to, and also the cyborg, like, humanity angle. Can we, I think Suns Will Rise talks a lot about this idea about, being stuck between peace and violence and our, humanity and being a cyborg, like all of these different kind of polar opposites in a sense, and wondering if you can find a way to cohabitate that space in the middle, or, a little bit more this way, a little bit more that way, not kind of just being stuck on either side. And that's a big theme in Suns Will Rise. And the next sequel is Songs of the Abyss. I'm looking at my notes down here. Songs of the Abyss, this is the pick, the 12 Friends, 12 Books pick from Vicky. So I won't actually talk that much about it at all because I will let you watch that in the part 5 of 12 Friends, 12 Books. I am very behind on that. Just very behind in general. So I won't really talk about that, but just know, loved it. And I want to talk now about adult books because I only have one, and it's a lot like Adios. I love this one so much because this one was just like all of my favorite kind of tropes packed into one. So it was childhood crush / romance, first of all. Second chance romance, second of all. Friends-ish to friends to lovers, third of all. And then fourth of all, there are chapters in in essentially AIM / Messenger, text where they're talking about creating fanfic, and you can read some of the fanfic. Like, it just hit all of those different things. It was so great. It made me so emotional. I ended up wanting to read it more and more every night. I kind of try to read kind of a fun romance book before bed every night, but this one was kind of like, okay, pajamas are on, let's read kind of feeling. And it just, yeah, the trope-wise, it just hit all the tropes I wanted. So emotional. It had just such fantastic characters. And about trying to be vulnerable and being really scared to be vulnerable, like, just so good. It is so good, so steamy, very steamy, but also very, very good. And then I also only have one middle grade pick, and that is Ava Evergreen and the Cursed Witch. I just wrote down Ava Evergreen too, because that's how it exists in my mind. But Ava Evergreen and the Cursed Witch was just so cute because I felt like now that Ava knows a little bit more about who she is as a witch and also as kind of a girl, it was about kind of making sure that other people can see her and see her abilities and her powers. And there were important questions about ethics and magic and, should you use your magic? Should you not use your magic? What's the greater good? Like, it just tackled all of those themes really well. And I enjoyed it so much, watching Ava go through kind of a development after she knows a little bit more about who she is. Even though in the second one, there's still a lot of character development for Ava in general, but also, the first one was so much about her trying to navigate her abilities versus her expectations, her powers, her family, all of these different things. And so the sequel is just so great. And I knew I was gonna love it, but, it's a good feeling to actually have loved it. And so YA, I have 6 YA. I want to start off first with the graphic novel, which is They Called Us the Enemy. Oh my god, this was so good. I need to just buy like a copy for everybody I know, basically. It's a graphic novel about George Takei's life and his experiences in the internment camps, which, if you don't know anything about that, I will try to link some resources down below, but please just read They Called Us the Enemy. I also read the extended edition, which I would highly recommend. I mean, I don't review graphic novels that often, but the drawing style was fantastic. The storyline just like got me deep in the crying like emotions. And then the other ones are Isle of Blood and Stone. This is the first one before Song of the Abyss. So actually both of them made it into my favorites, which is like, that says something. These books are so underhyped. They should be read more. It's like map maker meets quests, meets secrets and family secrets, and just like so many different things. Isle of Blood and Stone was fantastic. It just like, I had read it once, but didn't remember anything about it. And so reading it again was such a beautiful, experience to kind of get re-immersed in what I liked it before. And just, I don't know, I just got totally swept away with Isle of Blood and Stone, and I just feel like more people should read it. I will try to link other people's reviews, and of course I'll link all the reviews of the books that I've already reviewed. But I know that Vicky really loved Isle of Blood and Stone because that's what Vicky wanted to recommend to me, but I was kind of like, okay, I've already read that. And then she said, okay, but the sequel, have you read the sequel? So I'll also try to find Vicky's review because now we both really love it. The next one is The Devil Makes Three. Look, okay, I thought I was gonna love this. I loved it. I don't know, I don't really know what to say. I helped release the cover reveal for this, links below, and also an excerpt, so if you want to read that. It is so atmospheric. I like genuinely needed to read this only during the daylight. I am a big scaredy cat though, but also the atmosphere and the eeriness and like I was gonna say the devilness, the demonish, magic-ish, supernatural-ish, all those ishes, like, just come together to create such an immersive, almost kind of experience while reading it. Kind of like a, I don't know, my body is trying to express itself right now and trying to be all like, ugh. Because that's how it felt when reading it. I felt just like, I have so many notes where it's just like, this is so scary. I don't know what I would do if this were me. So, the atmosphere is fantastic. In general, I just love The Devil Makes Three so much. The characters were really great. I loved reading about them. They were super nuanced and detailed and quirky and just like everything I really want in characters. And so I definitely recommend it. Please read it. Please. Just please read it. The next one is How Moon Fuentes Fell in Love with the Universe. I'm pretty sure this is the title. Like, in my mind, every time I think of the title, I think of something else. And it's just like, why she did, when she did, how she did, who, like, it's all of those question words that essentially they get lost in my mind. But this is the cover, so, you know, you'll know the title, essentially. But I was surprised about how much I loved it. It is a much larger book than I thought it was going to be, but this book was just so emotional. It just got me, like, deep in the feels. It talks about toxic family, it talks about parental abuse, it talks about fat shaming, it talks about like slut shaming and like the need for sex positivity and just like all of those really, really intense issues, while also talking about sisterhood and love and friendship and self-acceptance, all of those different things. It was just so deeply emotional, and Moon is just such a character that you just love from the beginning. And I loved her from the beginning, and like from the premise alone, I knew I was gonna love it, and I fell so hard and so thoroughly in love with this book. The more I read it, the more I was just like, I cannot put this down. I just was wrapped up in Moon's whirlwind of emotions, and it was just so beautifully, like, you just get so deep into the character and the character's mindset. It just felt like reading, I mean, it was reading someone else's experience, but it just felt so completely immersive like that. So now I have to read the other one, which is, I don't even really know. I just know that science fiction, this other author's first book, essentially. So now I have to read it. That's just kind of how it goes. And the next one is Fresh. I figured I was going to love this one, but I didn't realize how much I was going to love it. It is like a new adult book about going to college and about like that first essentially year, freshman year. That's why it's called Fresh. It is so sex positive. My first initial reaction was like, oh my god, this is so nostalgic, so fun. Everything about this is just like laugh out loud, hilarious. I love it. The characters so detailed, they just felt so real and so nuanced. There are trigger warnings for this, and I'll leave my review if the review has been posted by now, but there's trigger warnings for sexual assault. And so basically surrounding the events of that, that's kind of when that emotional kind of current has like an emotional undertow. That's when the emotional undertow takes you and just like pulls you under, and is like, whoa. And it's also a lot about slut shaming, and it's about kind of making mistakes and then realizing how can you fix them, and what do those mistakes say about you, and kind of sitting with those mistakes and wondering, what does it say about me? Do I want it to be like this, essentially? And it was just so fantastic, and I just loved it so much. I read it in under 10 hours. I read it in one whole day, less than a day actually. I think I started reading it at like 9 a.m. and finished it at like 3 a.m. 3 p.m. I took breaks to eat and stuff. This wasn't like a one sitting read because I gotta eat. But I finished it under 10 hours. That gives you any context about how much I loved it. Like, I read books pretty fast in general, I feel like, but rarely do I read books in under 10 hours. And I read Fresh in under 10 hours. And the final one is A Dragon Bird in the Fern. This is probably my most surprising book because I was expecting to like it. It's like this YA fantasy about her sister has died, and also it has a supernatural element too because her sister is kind of haunting them, and in that culture in the YA fantasy culture, that's what the ghosts kind of do, especially ghosts that have been wronged. Like, oh my god. So basically, they get super dangerous, the amount of violence that they can unleash, and so you have to find the murderer, otherwise really bad things are gonna happen. So that's one aspect, and the other aspect is, in order to solve her sister's murder, just go to this other country, essentially, and find it. And so basically she also has dyslexia, and in the other country it speaks another language, and it's very hard for her to learn. Like, for whatever reason, just moving to another country, learning new languages, like all of that, and feeling so homesick and having to be so hard to communicate and hard to understand what's going on and how to express yourself, all of that just like got to me and resonated so hard with me. It just like got to the core of who I am. Anyone who's kind of like, you know, maybe studied abroad or lived in another country where you didn't really speak the language that well, I think that this really kind of just takes that core, and it just makes it was like an instant connection, me and that main character. Like, I was like, I see you, I know your struggles, I get you. But then at the end of the day, it's also this story about sisterhood, and this story about family, and also a story about love, and a story about, you know, self-reliance and self-acceptance, and also realizing that you're more powerful than you think you are. I just get so emotional thinking about it. But yeah, okay, I gotta stop. Anyway, that was probably the most surprising read of July, just with like how intensely that resonated with me. So that brings me to the end of my July wrap up. Overall, how was July? It was a whirlwind. In August I won't be reading as much graphic novels, so the number will go down, and also I think that will help my brain a bit. And July in general was like a whirlwind, not as much as June. If you can tell from my wrap up in June, I'm kind of just like all over the place. And I did find the footage from June the very first time I filmed it. I found it in some random folder on my computer, and I was kind of like, too late. So anyway, I feel a lot better about July. Hopefully this trend continues, and feeling a lot better about August. At the end of July, I actually gave myself a lot of breaks, and I think that's why now, filming the end of this July wrap-up, I feel a lot better about July at the end than I did probably the beginning of July, essentially around the time I was filming the June wrap-up / August TBR. So yeah, in general, I just feel a lot more rejuvenated by the end of July, and I hope that I can take that momentum of giving myself more breaks and realizing, okay, if I don't read today, I don't read today. If I don't post at Instagram, post at TikTok, like, it's fine. It doesn't matter. So yeah, I feel a lot better. This is one of the weirdest wrap-ups where I'm just kind of like, I feel better, and I don't know what else to say, essentially. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that you've read some really great books in July. Please let me know your favorite book in July. And I'm really happy that everyone voted for the August pick. Very excited to read that one and to bring you that content. Very hype book. So we will see how I feel about it. Okay, I will see you in the next one. Bye!